Nobody likes to hear this word. I don't like to use it, but let's just put it out there. Slumps. A hitting slump. What exactly is a hitting slump? A slump it's like a combination of physical and mental, and it really becomes more of a mental crutch where your confidence is down and you aren't committing to the process, and you're starting to second guess yourself a little bit in your own abilities to be successful.
There is no way to avoid a slump in the game of baseball. There are things that you can do to limit how often they occur, but at the end of the day, you can't control. You can hit a ball square on the nose and hit it right at somebody, and that's outside of your control. You're even seeing it now and then the big leagues with defensive shifts. There are balls that are hit squarely that should be hits but are outs. And at the same time, on the reverse of that, you're going to bloop some balls in that fall. But as far as avoiding a slump, and there are too many things outside of your control to completely avoid a slump. The key is just working through it and not letting a small sample size determine your entire season. When a player feels like they're in a slump, then they get the added pressure. They get the added pressure from home, from their coach, maybe internally from themselves, that they feel like they have to go out there and get all their hits in one at bat.
Most people define slumps as result-oriented, but I think most players would tell you a slump is based off of feel. Nothing feels right. Nothing's working. Nothing is working and feels the way it should feel, and has nothing to do with the results, really. At the end of the day, a slump is whatever a player says it is and feels it is. If a guy's scuffling and struggling and feels like, nothing's going right for a long enough period of time, that's a slump.
When did it begin? When did the slump actually happen? I am submitting that the slump is not when you're 0 for 14, you're hip deep in this thing. The slump happened when you're 0 for 3. That's when it began. And it's not got anything to do with the swing or clearing your hips or keeping your head still or whatever it is that you need to do. It's got nothing to do with that. It's got everything to do with your mind. The slumps happen early, and then the mind plants a seed of doubt because you went 0 for 3, because you went 0 for 6. Now all of a sudden, you're saying to yourself, oh my gosh, it's happening to me, or I'm going into this slump. You're in the slump. The slump then starts at that very moment that you suggested it in your own head. If you believe you're in a slump after you've gone 0 for 6, guess what? You're in a slump. If you don't believe it, then you're not in a slump. It's the belief system. Well, here we go then. It's got nothing to do with your swing. It's got everything to do with how you're programming your mind. The language then, the self-talk, is the key to staying out of a slump, or if you define that you're in a slump, getting out of it. It's the way that you're communicating with yourself, the content of your self-talk, the quality of your self-communication is the key.
Batting average is the biggest trap in baseball. I hit 3 balls right on the screws, right at somebody. Baseball says I suck. Now the wrong guy starts playing. I talk about definitions. Let's change the definition to a funk. He's in a funk. He's not in a slump. A slump is yesterday, right? And yesterday, that pitcher tonight doesn't give a crap what you did yesterday. It is about today. I got a new game, new pitcher, new hero, every single game that you play. So why am I worried about stats in my slump? But I believe that most guys that are in a funk, it's not a mechanical thing. It might be one little thing mechanically to make them feel better, which is a mental side. It's a mental thing. Do you know how many players let their mind get in the way of their ability instead of help their ability? If this thing was only about ability, then every single first round, top 10 round pick should spend 10 years in the big leagues, and they don't. And guys like Kevin Pillar, guys not drafted, are going to spend 10 years in the big leagues. So this is the best thing about this game is nobody knows how you're going to handle when you get 5 at-bats a day, every single day, the rest of your life, whether you want them or not. And this is why I always talk about calmness, toughness, and focus. And the number one thing you better have if you're going to play at the highest level is toughness. Too many players play this game like they're in trouble. If you're playing this game, or parents, if you're coaching travel ball or little league and your kid feels like he's in trouble, something's wrong. Right? Nobody's in trouble. Right? It's not a 3-hour timeout. Right? It's a game. Have fun.
Parents can have a big effect on the kids because they put pressure on them too, because they're emotional as well. So I think if you have kids who, can be emotionally balanced, they're going to progress a lot faster.
When you're in a slump, it seems like you're 0-2 every time you turn around, or you can't pull the trigger on the good pitches. And really what's happening is you're not committed to your approach. One thing that I learned is less is more a lot of times. You want to simplify. Don't make it more complicated, and don't try to create a new swing every single time you have a couple bad at-bats. That comes with growing in the game. What also comes with growing in the game is figuring out ways to get past that. And usually barreling a couple balls up builds that confidence back, and you're rolling. My good friend Steve Springer, he talks about that opening day mindset. Why is everybody so confident on the opening days? Because they don't have yesterday's bad at-bats beating them up.
This is why I keep going back to it, but it's about playing every day like it's opening day. And it's not about you, it's about you helping your team. Trust me, that will get you out of a funk quicker than anything that you could ever do in a cage or a thought process, is play every day like it's opening day. Have fun.
When you're in the box and you're up there, you get a lot of thoughts that creep into your mind. And ideally, you want to try to keep out, honestly, a lot of the mechanical stuff that you work on in practice. Practice is the time to focus on that. In the game, you're up there to compete. You're not trying to focus on, turning your hips or finishing a certain way. You're trying to win the at-bat.
Your self-image, if there's a chink in it, not getting hit, because you believe you're a good hitter and all of a sudden you're failing when you've been succeeding for a long period of time, then all of a sudden you're not hitting well, then your ego, your self-image takes a hit. And then you got other people outside of you talking to you, trying to, get you things, tell you things, what to do, things like that, making it worse. And you don't know what to do to get out of it. Emotions are very, very powerful. A person who has bad energy, they're slouchy, they don't believe that they can hit, it's going to show in their body language. So change your body language first to one that's confident. Even if you're not totally confident, change your body language, your physiology first, and then you're going to feel better, and then start remembering the old hits that you used to have, and then go out there and just play the game, have fun. It's okay to feel upset, angry, mad, whatever you want to call it. It's natural, but get it out, flush it, come back to a natural state. Hold your head up, chest up, head up. Instead of figuring out, thinking of what may happen that's negative, start visualizing the positive things again. Start, what we say in NLP is see, hear, feel. What did you feel when you were doing well? Go back to a place when you were killing it, go back, give me your best hit, when you was, 3 for 4. Go back and experience that feeling again. What were you doing?
Are you serious about your sport, or are you not serious? Because if you're serious, then you're going to start digging into your mind, understanding what is going on in my mind. I am simply saying to you, increase your odds of success by looking inward into your mind and understanding that what I think about every day is what I am going to become tomorrow. What you think about today will manifest in tomorrow. I am a loser. Guess what? Then you're going to lose. But you know what? I own that sucker. I own you. And I'm going to show it to you right now. Oh boy. Oh boy. Please, please don't strike out. If you strike out, my mama's sitting right up there. I'm gonna let my team down. I'm not going to the majors. This slump's gonna happen. My gosh, here we go. That kind of language triggers a fear response. Fear, anxiety, and worry are the chains of failure. The chains of failure. Fear, anxiety, and worry. All three things.
Good pitching beats good hitting. Forever and ever. So if you run into a string of really good pitchers and you're slightly off, then you're going to be over.
I would highly recommend that you get introduced to meditation so that you can take a step back. One of the things that really helped me as a professional player was literally lay in the grass with my baseball bat and just take 8 to 10 really deep breaths. And what that does is kind of calm your heart rate down so you can play the baseball game with, you know, hundreds of people watching you. I'd highly recommend physically carrying a notebook with yourself, writing your thoughts down, writing your pitch selection down, so that way you have something to review at the end of the day.
From where I am, what am I doing? From where I am, what am I not doing? And that will help me have the right mindset as I continue to go towards what success is for me.
Creating a checklist for ourselves, I think, is a huge part. You know, number one, am I seeing the ball the best I can? Number two, am I swinging good pitches? If I can say yes to both of those, all right, now let's work on the physical. But more times than not, I can't say yes to both of those things. And when I realize that, the sooner I realize that, the sooner I'm going to get out of that slump, and the sooner I'm going to stop chasing pitches out of the zone a little bit more. Confidence is a good thing. You know, arrogance comes into play when, yeah, I'm so good, I don't need to do those things. Now, if you don't do those things and you don't have that routine, and you're not following what you were doing that was creating that feel and that success for you, yes, eventually it's going to catch up. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but all of a sudden you're going to be in a slump before you know it, scuffling down, wondering what's going on, trying to swing your way out of it, when really all you just got away from what was working for you. It's like my college coach, that was the best thing he ever did. Best thing he ever did for me was get me to break a season down to 20 at-bats at a time. Like, I used that my entire career. I don't even know what I would have been like had I not had that tool, because no one else ever gave me that advice. Forget the stats and what everything says now. I only care about these next 20 at-bats. And I'm going to keep my stats for these next 20 at-bats. You know, and if I'm 6 for 20 with 5 walks or a couple of in these 20 at-bats, I'm not hitting 240 anymore. I'm hitting 300. You know, I'm hitting 333, I'm hitting 400 in my last 20 at-bats. And, you know, you do that enough times, you know, after 100 at-bats, all of a sudden I'm hitting 270. And you've just created some, you know, small little success stories for yourself.
When you're playing good, you don't think it ever going in. I own this thing. When you're playing bad, you don't think it's ever going in. That's not rational. Either one of those is not rational.
You have to have a short memory in baseball, good and bad, because at the same time you can have a lot of success and you can get humbled really quickly in baseball. I know there's times that, I remember one time in particular with me, I was 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts and somebody was there to see me. I mean, didn't even touch a ball off a really good pitcher who ended up pitching in the major leagues, but didn't even touch a ball. And the next day I was 4 for 4 with a home run. And so, or the next game I should say. And so baseball is a very humbling sport. And it goes the other way too. You can go 4 for 4 and then 0 for 4. And so once you think you got to figure it out, you don't.
Change bats, change your socks, get dressed differently. Baseball is, any athlete, they're superstitious. You know, just go back to your basic fundamentals on how you prepare to hit. You're doing something, you've changed something. That's all. Maybe you saw somebody on TV and you changed your hands, you changed your stance. You're wider, you're narrower, you're open, you're closed. Just pull your film out. If you have film, go back to where your film was when you were hitting good. That's a good thing about somebody taking film. Here's what you look like when you're hitting good. This is what you look like now and you haven't hit the ball solid in 6 games. What's the difference? And that will show you. You've gotten away from your fundamental swing.
The separator is that I think most players would acknowledge that, yes, we have to make adjustments, but the separator is the ability to actually do it. Why do guys chase a lot, or when they, especially, obviously, there's a reason why you start to struggle, and usually when guys start to struggle, it's because of pitch selection, which all goes back to your approach, and then your ability to execute your approach. Looking back at things, it's kind of like a rearview mirror. Like when you're driving in the car, it's very, very helpful to look back at, hey, what was I thinking when I was swinging the bat really well? That's why I encourage guys to write things down throughout the season. Or, and so you can go back and look at, hey, this is what I was thinking. Let's get back into that mindset. But if you are staring at it, that rearview mirror as you're driving down the road, that's dangerous. And so you can't stay in the past. It's okay to glance back at it once in a while, but not stay there.
Failure has a way of waking us up. And, the best players, the toughest players, they evolve. And their swings evolve. Their approaches evolve. They got to figure out what works, because otherwise you end up on the bench, you end up cut, you end up released out of the game.